I've been to 78 countries and I've never been to the US.
WakaWaka Doctor is Africa's fearless migration guru.
After losing his beloved mom, all because of a visa rejection, he turned his pain into purpose.
He's become Africa's travel and migration icon, inspiring millions to rewrite their destinies and live their dreams.
What hurts me the most was at the time, I didn't have access to travel without visas. I applied to go see her in the US because she was in the US, living in the US, receiving treatment. She had breast cancer. The guy who was at the US embassy at the time denied me, and I'd booked my ticket, was due to fly out to see her, but she died 2 days before I flew.
WakaWaka Doctor, how exactly do you define what you do, and who should care about what you do?
Well, you see, what I do is, I'd say it's very unique because it's not just about creating content and providing information. What I do speaks to the psychology of people, and I'll explain it why. You see, I am in the travel and migration space, and part of what I do is to provide opportunities for people globally. And so I am helping change the lives of people. I am helping to eradicate poverty in some sort of way, because you have individuals who never would have in a million years thought, or they'll be living lives abroad, earning in foreign currency, using their skills that they've acquired to provide certain solutions abroad and earning money and sending back home. So I'm helping eradicate poverty in some way. But what's more important is that a lot of people, more than um, 60-70% of people who consume my content, usually feel that moving abroad requires a lot of money, and that it's only rich people, a certain class of people, who can see the abroad life. So I am breaking ideologies and breaking through mental barriers to kind of make you understand that it's not just those set of people who can taste the abroad life. Anybody can. You only need a specific set of qualities to be able to achieve, that goal. So it's beyond just creating content and providing information there, because I'm breaking through that mental block, and changing the lives of people as well. So it's a very interesting dynamic that I use, and the results are there to speak for itself.
Take us back. What was life really like growing up in Lagos, and of course, particularly with your hardworking parents?
Growing up, just grew up in a middle class family in Lagos. My mom, now of blessed memory, was a teacher. My dad was a telecoms engineer, a manager at when we were growing up. And with three siblings, and I would come from a family where discipline was the watchword, and you had to do certain things in certain ways. My dad wasn't he was involved in the family, but it was much laid back. It was much more of, I'll provide for you. That's how he shows his own love. But my mom was the disciplinarian of the house. She would check you academically, and morally as well. She would make sure that you're walking the proper line. My dad, it was a very closely knit family system. My dad was and is still a Muslim. My mom was a Christian. So I grew up, in the church. And after about 12, 15 years, I went to the mosque.
Wow.
So I was also a Muslim for about 5 years of my life. Learned all the tenets of Islam, and then at the age of 18, my dad was like, okay, now you've had a taste of both, decide which you want to be. And then, I somehow chose Christianity. But it's that kind of family, liberal. My dad is not going to say, "Oh, you have to be this because I am this." No, it's not that kind of guy. And if my mom was alive right now, it will take some convincing for her to say, "Oh, you're doing content creation." It would take some convincing because she was like, "You have to be this or this." Even though she had this principle of, in Yoruba they say "onokon woja," where you have to diversify and have multiple streams of income. But I'm not sure that she would have approved of, the second means of income or whatever, being a content creator. It would take some explaining and, telling her why you're doing what you're doing for her to say it. That's the kind of family I come from. And all my siblings live abroad, far and wide, different professionals. And also grew up in a family where, you know, it's almost like they plan your life for you, sort of. Because I never wanted to be a doctor, never wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a computer scientist, up to the point where I did programs in NIT, Java, SQL, had certificates for them. My first year in LASU was computer and physics, until my dad was like, "I'm not paying your tuition, no chance. You are studying this medicine."
Wow.
And we had a fight for like 6 months thereabout until I
Wow.
succumbed
Wow.
and studied medicine. And as I grew into medicine, I started loving medicine. And
Hmm.
looking back, I've often told him myself that I think it's one of the best decisions he made for me. I'm not sure I would have excelled in, I mean, well, we can't tell now, but that's the feeling I get. I'm not sure I would have excelled in any other field other than medicine.
Your mom used to say that no marketplace has only one door, you know, and I see you allude to that as well. So, how did that philosophy, that mindset, how did that shape your decisions, especially during your toughest moments?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's always said to us that you have to have skills or talents, and you need to either, if you're naturally born with those talents, you need to, improve them, or you pick up talents. So growing up, I still sing, In fact, I have a music album of my own. So I used to sing, I used to dance, I used to play the drums. And then of course intellectually going through medical school. So my brother, for instance, is a fashion designer and an architect, and he owns businesses. My sister is, she's a professor of mathematics, but she also does businesses. My younger sister is, I used to work in banking and finance, but she also holds certificates in healthcare. So you have to have multiple things you're doing because you never know which door is going to get locked, and then you open another door. So, aside from being a doctor, this wasn't a path that I wanted to choose, but I think fate called it. Yeah, I left Nigeria and then I started traveling the world, and my eyes opened to the fact that there's a lot out there that people don't know. You often always feel that your father's garden is the best, your father's garden is the biggest, until you see somebody else's compound. I'm like, there's so much more here. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start creating videos to show people that there's much more out there, and they need to actually take advantage and use these opportunities.
So, you went to LASU. What exactly did you study? Have you started school before your father insisted that you have to do medicine?
Okay, so back in Nigeria, you have to write this joint admissions matriculation board exam, the JAMB exam. So I wrote it twice. First one was I think was okay, 201 thereabout, was fairly okay. And then the second one I had 296. And so within those years, Of course, the discussion had been taking place. You have to study medicine. And I'd said, no, 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 I wasn't. And then, I convinced him. I was like, okay, even if I'm going to study medicine, you still need to have technical abilities and computer abilities because the world is going tech and all that. So he signed me up for NIT, but he was still always drumming it into my ears. You're not going to study this in the university. This is just to get certifications. So I did SQL, Java, and some other programming languages, learned them very well, wrote the exams, passed. And then it was time to get into university. And I'd chosen LASU because my cousins attended LASU and it was going to be, with family. And I could live over there still in Lagos. And so I got the admission and of course, in Nigeria, they give you courses. So the course I was given was computer science and physics. Coincidentally, that's similar to what my dad studied at Unilag because he studied physics and telecoms in Unilag. But it was war. He didn't accept it. And so I stopped talking to my dad for like 3 months. I didn't say a word. I didn't say a word. And I went to LASU, was going, I just went to school on my own. One of these days, his friends came home. I was home, and they were having a discussion, and there was a talk about me not talking to him for the last 3 months. And then he made a side comment, which some people might not understand it, but as a 15-year-old kid at the time, hearing that from my dad, even though I kind of sensed that he felt that way about me, I think it just broke me because he said that I didn't realize how much respect he had for me and that I didn't realize how much love he has for me. Hearing those two words broke me to tears. You know, I broke down and I was like, whatever you say, whatever you want me to do, I'll just do it. So I just dumped I dumped computer and physics. I was in year one at the time, it was my first year. I had to enroll in medicine at Igbinedion University. There were loads and loads of people who wanted to study medicine at the time. Did the whole um, first year thing, and in first year we were like 1,000 students who wanted to study medicine, and they were like, this will cut down to 100 after third year. I hated medicine the first year because I felt like they were just forcing me to do this thing. But I scaled through the first year, scaled through the second year, and by the third year, we wrote the exams, and only 66 of us passed out of 1,000. And that was when I started believing that, well, this was probably made for me. So that's how I walked the path, and I've loved it ever since.
You studied medicine at Igbinedion University. You graduated what year, and what happened afterwards?
So I finished medicine in 2011, graduated 2011. After 2011, I decided to do my internship. So I did my internship at University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. After doing my internship, I then went ahead to do my youth service in Osun State. And after doing my youth service, it was then time to decide what the next step was. In Osun State, I was underpaid, overworked. I was owed 6 months' salary, without pay. I was seeing about 300, 400 patients every day, and one of these days I saw this opportunity in the newspaper. Doctors from Saudi Arabia were coming and picking doctors and were giving bonuses. They were paying in dollars. There was flight accommodation. I was like, what? Where's the interview? The interview was in Lagos. That night, I dropped my bag, picked my clothes. In fact, I didn't pick. I had to hurry. I didn't take a shirt. I only picked a trouser because I was rushing. I picked a trouser, picked my documents, went to the bus park. The last bus to Lagos. This was in 2013.
Wow. So you left that
So
night.
yes, I left that night in 2013 and got to Lagos the next day, stayed in the hotel. Um, in the morning, around 8 o'clock, went to look for a shirt, got a shirt, packed my documents, went to was Sun Hotel. I think that was the name of the hotel back then. The hotel is changed now. I don't think it exists anymore. It was in Ikeja. I think Best Hotel or something. Did the interview and I was offered the job on the spot. So like, really? Can we discuss your contract? I was like, okay. And they were paying me in dollars. Was almost like $4,000, $5,000, between $3,000 and $5,000.
As at then.
Yeah, as at then. I was like, what? Are you sure? I said, yes. For real? You pay my flights, you give me accommodation? Yes.
And then
Ah.
you pay me this much?
I was like, for real? They say yes. Okay. Well, you know. So now the next thing was convincing my dad and my mom that I was going to Saudi Arabia. And you know, I was very pro Nigerian, to be honest. Never wanted to leave. But that opportunity came and I was just like, yeah, we gotta take it. My mom, the whole stereotype with Middle Eastern countries. You have to be careful. Don't argue Bible with anybody. If they say Muhammad, just say yes. Don't no arguments. And my dad, of course, was very happy I was going to a Muslim state. So that was how my life changed. Moved to the Middle East, spent a couple of years there. Moved in February of 2014, and I was there for a couple of years. Worked around the Middle East, Dubai, Bahrain, and I traveled the whole GCC countries as well. Was learning the language, picking up different ways of seeing life. One of my very, very good friends up till now, I met him in Saudi Arabia. Amazing guy. Gave me a different perspective to life. And I just felt, look, okay, so one has to really start traveling. I went to Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi, Dubai, Lebanon, Jordan, and I was seeing they are Arabs, but they still behave differently. And that just okay. So it's time to start exploring. And I would have stayed in the Middle East if not for the fact that number one, they had a much more conservative lifestyle that I could bear. It was too conservative for me, and there was no career growth. I wanted to be at the top, so I left and went to the Republic of Ireland. And after leaving to the Republic of Ireland, I went to the United Kingdom to get my master's in public health. This would have been in 2016. Got my master's in public health, then got a job as a lecturer in one of the universities in the UK. Worked there, wrote my exams. I was able to practice in the Republic of Ireland as well. Then I was shuttling the UK and the Republic of Ireland. Then I got an opportunity in Australia, moved to Australia for 1 year before COVID, and then moved back to the UK just shortly before COVID hit. And yeah, that's been my life. So now I go where I feel like I still hold license to practice in the Middle East. So I just literally go where I feel like I want to be. My head spaces at the time, and that's been my life.
So what's your specialty as a medical practitioner right now?
Well, in the last 10, 11 years, I've practiced in psychiatry, which is core or forms a bit of what I do. Because if you listen to what I said, I try to break through mental barriers. And that involves me speaking to the subconsciousness, of individuals. It's why I care so much about what I do because I know that it's difficult to shift because once a mindset is concretized, it's almost delusional. And it's very, very difficult to change that mindset. And it's why I hold firm and hold strong with what I do, trying to convince people every day, providing information, teaching them that this thing is possible. And yeah, that's the fun of it.
You lost your mom in 2018.
Yes,
A
I lost my
deeply,
mom. I lost my mom in
a
2018.
deeply
Yeah.
personal, of course, that must have been life altering for you because I've seen you talk about your mom in a very daring, very daring way.
Yeah.
So, how did that loss change your perspective on life, work, success, and the likes?
Uh, um, I didn't know you were going to go to this. mm, it's it's been 6 7 years, but it still hits me. If you've ever seen a picture of my mom, you probably understand why, because it's me in female form. That's my mom. Looks exactly like me. And what hurts me the most was, at the time, um, I didn't have access to, being able to travel without visas. So I had applied to go see her. The guy who was at the US Embassy at the time denied me. I applied to go see her in the US because she was in the US, living in the US, receiving treatment. She had breast cancer. She was first diagnosed of breast cancer in 1999, had a successful surgery, and lived okay up until 2018. So it was like 19, 20 years of good health. And it's a bit traumatic for me because it came back as a cough. So it came back as a cough. And because she'd had series of tests prior that had cleared her and there was nothing wrong with her, you know i I I didn't ask questions that I should ask as a doctor. And I still carry that guilt up to now, because it started as a cough. She was coughing, and she did x-rays, did CT scans, and the doctors there kept on saying she was fine, there was nothing wrong. And I never asked to see the results for one day. I never asked to see the results. Not until I knew something was wrong. And when I didn't even need to look much. When I saw the x ray for the first time, I just broke down because I could see it. I could see, they kept on saying she was fine, but I could literally see metastatic nodes in the lungs. And she she was my best friend. She was she was I um there are times even up till now, like I feel, like we make mistakes in life, and everyone needs a guide at some point in time. And this is not to shoot down my dad or anything. Is an excellent father, but I just always felt like some decisions I've made, looking back, I probably wouldn't have made them with if she was alive, because she was just excellent at being there for me and talking me through situations. So the US visa guy denied me of the visa at the time to go see her in the US. There was no reason, it just denied me. And I reapplied 3 months later, and in 2 minutes I was out of the embassy. And I caused the scene at the embassy because I had to fight to them, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? There is no change, no material change in my circumstance. I'm a doctor who lives here. I work, I pay taxes, I earn good money. You have records showing my mom is in the US. You have records to show she's receiving treatments. You have records to show my dad is there. I've got cousins. I've got an aunt who has been there for years. You have all these records. Do I look like someone who wants to go to the US to leave? I am going there to see my mom, and that caused a big sin. But I was pretty upset at the time, and I'd booked my ticket, was due to fly out to see her. I can't remember the exact date, but she died 2 days before I flew. So I I've been to 78 countries, and I've never been to the US. I literally still I have that fear of, I don't know what would happen if I land in the US, and the memories I still have that fear of reliving, so I don't want to go to the US. I don't know if I'll ever go there, but I don't want to, because I still hold it's still I still have that feeling. And that's how I lost my best friend, and I've lived with that pain, that guilt, um, and that has continued to. But I still do stuff because at the back of my mind I want to make her proud. So some of the decisions I make sometimes will be, what would mom feel if she was here? Would this make her happy? Will she be proud of this action? Of course, I don't make the right decisions all the time, but a lot of the decisions I make will be, yeah, I want to make this woman proud. So yeah, that's been it.
So, have you ever had a moment where you thought about giving up on your dreams, on your goals, on what you do? Um, and if yes, what brought you back?
Well, when she passed, I had not started WakaWaka Doctor then. Maybe for about a year after, I'd I was always thinking, what exactly is in this life to begin with? You know, yeah, I've lost people, but she was the first person, close to home that I was losing. I'd lost a grandparent, but I was not really close to my grandparents. Um, and I'd lost friends, but this was my mom, and that had some connection. So, and for what exactly was life about? We wake up every morning, hustle, bustle, try and amass wealth, properties, and at the end of the day, you just die. So, what's the point of this whole thing? And that one year was a bit hard for me because I felt like, let's just live life, just live life, and whatever happens happens. Um, and I felt like quitting at that time. But that's that part of my life. And then when you look at Waka Waka Doctor too, there've been several instances where I felt like, because I only started making money off social media. I've been Waka Waka Doctor for 5 years, but I only started making money off social media 2 years ago. And so the first 3 years, I always said to myself, like, you guys are not paying me, right? And the way people do on social media, they don't know you, they insult you, they abuse you, they talk to you in ways that you cannot even fathom. And I'm like, you people don't even pay me. You don't. I don't benefit anything from you. So let me just, in fact, there was a time I made a video which I'm sure might be down now. I'm not even sure I can find it. There was a time I made a video. I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Whatever happens to you guys, bye bye. It's been fun. 3 years I've helped people, and that's the end. And I got DMs, messages, please, and people who didn't give me testimonials before were sending in testimonials. And seeing those testimonials, I was like, okay, well, now I can't stop. I can't allow people who then insult me to, change what I do and how I affect the lives of people. So I've tried to quit, I've tried to quit medicine. I've tried to quit WakaWaka Doctor. I've tried to quit being who I am. But I always look at how would that impact the lives of others, and when I see the effect it has on people's lives, it then motivates me to, pick up from where I stop and continue doing what I do.